Okay, let me say no first. Hello everyone, how's it going? This is Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies for Android, and this is gonna be part 10 of our blind playthrough. I don't have to check because this time I'm sure. It's a nice round number. And I remember it. Alright. And I remember it so you don't have to. Okie dokie. Cosmos, Space Center, Space Museum. Oh yeah, we had to investigate this place as well, as I recall. Oh wow, what is this place? Okay, let me connect my controller. There we go. Is that rocket real? Welcome, welcome. The Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 AM to 7 PM. Learn about the history of our nation's space development and the HAT-1 project. The rocket is just a replica, but it's the same size as the real one. The Space Museum. Oh, here it is on the map. Ah, it's on the other side, okay. So it's on the exact opposite side of the main building from Launch Pad 1. Ask me anything, I will explain. The HAT-1. HAT-1, I don't know. I don't know how I'm supposed to say that. HAT-1 sounds better. This is quite the place. I can't believe we get to see a rocket this close up. This is a replica of the HAT-1 that was launched 7 years ago. It's exactly like the real HAT-1, inside and out. It's working? You say it's exactly like it. Its little brother, the HAT-2, was supposed to launch the other day. I wonder if Punko knows why the launch was cancelled. Over there is an exhibit about the launch, 7 years ago. Check it out, check it out. Spacesuits, photos, newspaper articles. I'd like to come here again on the day off. Hey, what's this a photo of? Phoenix, that's the staff of the HAT-1 project. Oh, there's Mr. Starbuck. He looks so young and so different. Where are the chicks on the right? Never seen them before. Ah, and that's... What is it that night? Something wrong? Oh, nothing. I just thought Mr. Starbuck looked really young too, that's all. I doubt this is what made her have this kind of reaction. Somehow it feels like... That's not it. Like she's not telling the whole truth. What it was 7 years ago, after all, so the young guy standing next to Mr. Starbuck is Clay Tarrant, the victim. So they were mentor and protege even way back then. And he's even got one of the staff jackets. He looks just like a regular staff member. No, Clay was still a student then. He just borrowed one of Solomon's old jackets. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Clay would have still been in high school 7 years ago. Everybody looks so happy. The Space Museum is great. What fantastic exhibits. This area used to be Launchpad 2. That's why the only entrance is on the 3rd floor. Wouldn't it be better if they just made a new ground floor instead? There was talk of it, but they had to scrap their plans because of the budget cuts. Budget cuts, budget cuts. We need more money. Money! Who would record that kind of information into a guide robot? While it was in space, the HAT-1 launched a probe called Hope. The Hope probe collected some samples from an asteroid and returned 5 days ago. I was gonna say 5 years ago. That's what Director Cosmos said too. He told us it came back the day before Clay was killed. And here it is, the Hope space probe. I think I've seen that logo somewhere before. And I'm starting to wonder if the murder maybe had something to do with the asteroid samples that the probe brought back, because they were carrying the capsule container thing. What was it again? I think I have it in the evidence actually. No, I know I don't have it. Okay, that thermos looking thing. No, not that. That's something else. But I don't have it, and I don't know why. But it's in a photo anyway. Wait, where's the photo? I do have the photo, don't I? No, that's the autopsy report. Spin center diagram. I had it in the evidence before. Ah, no, that's the one. Yeah, that thing that he's carrying. Yeah, that. I wonder if maybe that was a motive for the murder somehow. Someone trying to steal them or something? Because I imagine that to be pretty valuable, right? I think I've seen that logo somewhere before. Let's see. Oh yeah, yeah, there we go. I was looking for it in the menu, but I didn't have to because the game was gonna show it anyway. Oh yeah, the capsule that the victim was carrying. I think it had the same logo. I think it can be seen in the photo attached to the autopsy report. Maybe she'll give me some more info if I show it to her. Launchpad layout. The way the Space Center launchpad is set up is really cool. Would you like me to tell you about it? Would you? The setup of the launchpad? Go gentle on my spiky-haired mind. I want to know. I want to know. Phoenix wants to know too. Great. Now Athena's got a case of Ponco-Hades. Hooray! I will tell you then. That robo is super hyper. The rocket is built right outside the launchpad structure. When the rocket is complete, it's moved along with the launchpad over the rails. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. And brought into position at the launch site. Mm-hmm. Isn't it cool? Isn't it? We used to have a big budget, so that's how we could build it all. Yeah, but not so anymore, I suppose. It's very cool, a grand setup that suits an important place like the Space Center. I guess everyone is hoping for a bigger budget next year, myself included. I'm guessing the whole thing is operated from the control room, huh? That it is, but it can also be operated from the new command center too. That's a lot of information to absorb at the moment. My brain is not registering everything it's receiving at the moment. Either way, the safety lock in the boarding lounge has to first be disengaged. I guess before a big move like that can be carried out, there are all kinds of procedures. Excuse me. Pardon me. I would love to see the launch pad being moved. When's the next one scheduled for? Searching data. All future plans have been put on hold. Because of the bombing and the murder, I'll bet. Which is perfectly understandable. Well, when was the last time it was moved? Searching data. I'm sorry, that answer isn't in my answer database. I guess Ponko can only answer certain questions. There may be some sensitive information that it's not allowed to answer. To give out, I suppose. To dispense. Alright, what should I do now? Present something or move? It's probably... I'm afraid I don't know anything about that. Yeah, that's probably what it's gonna say about most stuff anyway. Okay, no problem. I'm so sorry I wasn't helpful. I'll try to do better in the future. Please don't hate me. The poor thing. Now I feel bad for asking. It's a machine! It doesn't have any emotions. Yeah, that's its generic answer. Okay, if there's nothing programmed, it will give that that answer by default. Okay. Okay, that's the default answer as well. I'll try to make sure that I have had that. Okay, that's different. This facility is Yuri Cosmos' greatest achievement. Oh, I didn't realize it was the personal achievement of just the one man. Director Cosmos taught me to say it like that. Ah, it's actually a facility for space development, but don't tell anyone I said that. How could Director Cosmos teach such a pure and innocent robot to lie for him? Apparently the robot is aware of the problem. Okay, this? No. Generic answer. Alright. I have to try them all, just to be sure. There aren't too many of them. We're already more than halfway there anyway. Okay. I don't need to read it all. I know what it's gonna answer from looking at the first line. No, okay, it doesn't know anything about that. There's another page of inventory to look through. Let's try this one. Bombing reports. No, it doesn't know anything about that either. The utility knife. No, it doesn't know anything about that either. We're almost there. Only 3 to go. This one. Ah, wait. Oh, okay, it's the same answer as before, actually. But for a different piece of evidence. Well, I doubt it's gonna react to the autopsy report. Ah! Hold on. This could be important. Ponko, do you recognize this capsule here in the top right? Checking registered data. I know. It's the Hope capsule. It was carried inside the Hope probe. It contained the asteroid samples, right? Yes, it was designed to store the samples gathered by the Hope probe. It's been stored in the safe in Launch Pad 1 ever since it returned to Earth. It must not be removed! It must not be removed! Don't worry, Ponko, the people in charge already know what happened. They do? They do? I must ask them later. So the capsule was being kept in Launch Pad 1, huh? Maybe Clay was trying to carry it to safety after the explosion. The Space Center staff must have been really excited to finally get the capsule back. I can't read. But it's a pity this incident occurred before they got a chance to check the contents. Well, the police took it as evidence, so they'll have to wait a little longer. Hope capsule added to the court record. Ah, well, there you go. I had to present something to this robot. Well, we certainly learned a lot about the Space Museum. Thank you, Ponko. You explained everything very well. I love to explain. Thank you for listening. Thank you. You two are like old friends. It's hard to believe you just met recently. Hehe, it's because Ponko is so friendly. Well, what should we investigate next? Let's go find Detective Fulbright. We have things to ask him about. Let's see. The security footage and the fingerprint data, was it? Okay, then let's go back to the Launchpad 1 corridor. Bye, Ponko. See you later. Come again, and don't forget to visit the gift shop. Poor Ponko. What a Dickensian life we are all forced to lead. I'm gonna present this one anyway, just for the lulz. It's just a generic answer. What a disappointment. Oh well. Okay. There we go. Move. And where was Inspector Fulbright? He was in the corridor, I think. Well, when I meant it before, that's where he was. Launchpad 1 corridor. Ah, there he is. What should I do? Which path is the path of justice? There's Detective Fulbright. He still seems to be lost, even though it's a straight corridor. Let's hope he's still in the cooperative mood as well, then. If he doesn't cooperate, they'll just have to use my powers on him. You mean that lady in the stress bit? Okay. Talk. Bullet hole at the scene. We found the bullet hole in the wall at the crime scene. You did? Our team found that too. It was Detective Arm who fired that bullet. Interesting. Detective Arm? That's right, the warning shot for the defendant. The defendant? How do you know that? Was it really such a high-threat situation that she needed to do that? I'm afraid I don't know the details. What with Detective Arm gone and all? But I thought there were 2 people who discovered the crime scene together. We already know Director Cosmos will testify, so tomorrow will be about what he knows. Hey, you're pretty smart. That's exactly what we're planning to serve as the main course. I hope it goes down easy. Okay, fingerprint data. Detective, would like to run a comparison on some prints we found in the boarding lounge. Ah, yes, I just happened to have compiled the print data of everyone related to this case. I can always make another copy for myself, so it's all yours. Consider it a gift. This is quite a bit of data. Well, when I said everyone, I meant it. Prosecutor Blackwell said to dig deep, so that's what I did. It sure took a while, though. Why, you got Apollo in my prints. He even got prints for all of the robots. I guess when Blackwell said to dig deep, Fulbright didn't bother to ask how deep. Ah, Clay's fingerprints are here too. Clay? The victim? I personally removed his glove during the investigation. We had to get his fingerprints to confirm his identity after all. I still can't believe you took off his glove to get his fingerprints. Yeah, well, you can't blame me for thinking they're important in this case. There are a lot of doors that require fingerprints verification in the lounge. So depending on whose prints we find, it can completely change the tide for both sides. Makes sense. After all, the culprit's prints did get them past the fingerprint lock somehow. Oh, and take this picture. It might come in handy. Isn't this just a photo of the Launchpad 1 door? Is there something different about it? Yep, but Prosecutor Black Quill seemed really interested in it for some reason. The print recognition device? Huh? What's so important about this door? Beats me, but boy, could you see the gears in his head go into hyperdrive at it. Sounds like this is going to be a major point of contention tomorrow. About who can open this door, maybe? Hey, don't forget about the print comparison, boss. Right, Detective Fulbright, do you think you could run the test for us right now? You just leave it to me, and just as we trust. Oops, sorry. Okay, here we go. Well, it looks like it was Mr. Starbuck who opened that security door. Yikes. He must have opened it when they went to go board the rocket. His heart must have been full of hopes and dreams for his space adventure right then. Okay. Well, is that it? I enjoy morning shifts for the job itself because it's interesting, and this is the kind of shifts where we work the most, which means I don't have time to get bored. But gee, I really don't like getting up early. I wish I could get up like 2 hours later or something. Start working 2 hours later and get the same amount of work done but in this time and get paid the same. That would be better. More optimal for my health. Present the security camera footage to Detective Fulbright. Why was I bothering presenting every piece of evidence one by one when I could just do that, I guess? Fine, I'll talk to the witness of the crime, ask Detective Fulbright for info on the case. Okay, this camera footage is what I have to present. The disc? Is that it? Is that it? Detective, about the security footage that was taken by the boarding lounge 1 camera. Oh, that footage. Go ahead and ask me anything you'd like about it. Is there any way I could see a little more of the part just after this? Easy as pie, I'd be glad to show you. Here we go. Huh? The screen went blank. Yes, apparently the after effects of the explosion damaged the wires. So there's no footage after this point. Ha 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 ha. Why didn't you just say so from the beginning? Secure the camera video updated in the court record. Something definitely seems up with you, Detective. You're unusually cooperative. Well, I just figure if we work together, we'll get that much closer to justice, right? But it seems like something's really been bothering you. Maybe as a fan of our client. Sorry. Maybe as a fan of the defendant, you don't have some ulterior motive, do you? What? I don't know what you're talking about. I would never do anything like that. Oh, that wasn't Apollo Justice, that kind of thing, wasn't it? No, which game was it in? Psyche Locks. Which game was that in? The second one, maybe? Or the third one? No, it was not in Apollo Justice. Second or third game, I think. Wasn't it Pearl Fay who tried to remove Psyche Locks or something? No, I can't recall now. It's not coming back to me. It's been a while, but those are definitely psyche locks. Did you just mouth psyched? Is there something I should be psyched about? No, psyche lock. It's a system of locks on the secrets in a person's heart. I can see when people are trying to hide those secrets by using the power of this Magatama. Ah, no, that was what? Okay. Presenting evidence can break those locks and reveal any secrets they're hiding. Mr. Wright, how much did they bilk you out of for that piece of rock? If you've been swindled, I know some lawyers I can introduce you to. I'm more than capable of representing myself, thank you very much. It isn't some kind of fraud, it really works. My friend gave it to me a long time ago. But I guess seeing is believing. Allow me to show you. I can use the Magatama on him by tapping it. Uh-huh. But do I have the evidence, though, or is it something that I should look for still? Well, I'd save my progress, that's for sure. Hope capsule. No, I have to get out of here first. No, that's not what I wanted to look for. Hold on. Find and talk to the witness to the crime. Maybe I should do that first. Okay, that's not it. Entrance. No. Detention center. No. Write anything agency. No. Launchpad 1 corridor. Well, that's where I was. And the Space Museum. Okay, I think maybe I already have all the evidence I need then. To break the psyche locks.
Take that!
We can try. Not sure if this is gonna work, but why you're being cooperative? I think you're hiding something, detective, so why don't you just tell us about it? What to do? Which path is the path of justice? Detective Fulbright is really in agony. I bet this is the issue is so torn up over. Life, love, love. It would be funny to answer that, but it's probably justice. I really understand what's been bothering you, detective. I truly do. Something happened that goes against your principles, isn't that right? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Until the explosions occurred, everything was just fine. Is that a fact? Yup, peaceful as peaceful can be. Everyone whistling a happy tune as they did their job. You never saw a more relaxed guard detail for a routine rocket launch. I don't think the guard detail was as relaxed as you claim as long as this exists. The explosions, yeah. Or this, actually, no?
Take that!
The place had to be evacuated. Before the explosions, what was supposed to happen here was a rocket launch. And yet security was so tight they even brought in a special task force. I'd hardly describe that as relaxed guard detail. Yeah, you know. Hold on a minute. There's a tweet here about 2 Switch games being bundled together. Pio Fiore? Pio Fiore. Oh well, no, I don't know what that is. Nah, that looks like a dating sim or something. But no, not for me. Anyway, that's one gone. Now hold on just one moment. The entire nation had their eyes on this extremely important rocket launch. That's why I was called in on a special security detail. As versatile as you are, I can certainly believe that that's true. But I say it's very strange that this person would be a part of that detail from the outset. What person? Oops. Ah, no. I only wanted to have another look at the evidence. I'm gonna have to go through the first one again. It sucks. Evacuation thing. Yeah, this.
Take that!
Okay. Part of the detail from the outset, in terms of security detail. Yeah, this one maybe. She was part of the security, and she specializes in bombs. Did they know that the bomb would blow up?
Take that!
Detective Arms specialized in bomb cases. The fact that she was here on hand means that you people knew there was the possibility that a bombing could occur. You got me, Mr. Wright! What you can't say. Alright, I concede. You win. It's just as you say. A few days before the launch, they were warned about a potential bombing. But the plan to launch went ahead in spite of the threat. But why? What were they planning to do if someone got hurt or killed? Yeah, I know. The decision to move forward wasn't exactly just, was it? How was the warning delivered? By phone and directly to Director Cosmos. But the police department instructed everybody to keep it under wraps. That's a big thing to keep quiet about. No wonder you were upset. But it's not only that. I've been distraught about Professor Blackquill as well. Prosecutor Blackquill, sorry. Excuse me. Prosecutor Blackquill? Well, as his handler, I'm sure you have a lot of difficulties. That's not it. It's a question of justice. I've been wondering about why he is allowed to stand in court. Excuse me. The reason he's still prosecuting Detective Fulbright. Please tell us everything you know. Prosecutor Blackquill. Well, talking to you folks about it would definitely be breaking the rules. Never mind that. What are rules but things to be broken, right? Well, to tell you the truth... crap, I skipped a line. I think we guessed that much. So why is it being allowed? I've been wondering and wondering about it. So you weren't told why either, huh? No, I guess the order came from pretty high up the ladder. Yeah, it would have to have... That's quite the formulation here. It would have to have... I'm not even gonna question it. It's making my head hurt. Prosecutor Blackquill told me once. The hunt I've been on for the phantom of 7 years past continues even still. 7 years past? That's a ghost of very distant Christmas past then, I guess. A phantom, huh? And not one of the friendly variety either, I gather. Haunted for 7 years. This phantom of 7 years past, any idea who or what he was talking about? Not a clue. But he seems to think that this phantom is behind this whole incident somehow. Wait a minute, he thinks they may be connected to this case? Yep, this case has way too many similarities to what happened 7 years ago. For starters, that case happened right here at this very space center too. And in both incidents, a threat was issued via telephone. So that's why Prosecutor Blackquill thinks this incident is the work of the Phantom. Well, that's not the entire reason. I mean, if you want to talk about 7 years ago. That's when Prosecutor Blackquill was found guilty of murder. That messy case is what started the whole dark age of the law. So you see how this Phantom and Prosecutor Blackquill's conviction might be related. Yeah, I can see why you'd think that. This incident and the Phantom, not to mention Blacquill's past. It's almost inconceivable that they would come to a head here. This might sound crazy, but Prosecutor Blackquill can't possibly believe Mr. Starbuck is this Phantom person, right? I mean, he was acting kinda strange during the last trial and all. Prosecution appears to be ready as well.
Silence!
Silence!
Not yet. I'm not quite ready yet.
Gah!
Ah! No, I doubt he thinks Mr. Starbuck is his Phantom. But I do get the feeling that he thinks the defendant has ties to them. Which is why he's acting so impatient. He's got a personal grudge against Mr. Starbuck. And that's not real justice. I've always trusted in Prosecutor Blacquill's judgment until now. But this time, I'm just so overwrought about it all. If he's lost his ability to think rationally, I'm afraid it might lead to a false conviction. I've never seen Detective Fulbright so tormented. This must be why he has been so cooperative. Don't worry, that's exactly what we defense lawyers are working to prevent. I feel bad for Prosecutor Blackquill, but I'm going to be rooting for your team this time. But don't tell him that. You have to promise me you won't. Detective Fulbright, I guess I was wrong about you. I swore to reform Prosecutor Blackquill and make him a valued member of society again. So I can't just sit by and watch him give in to his emotions and tear the defendant apart. You are the only ones who can stop him in court. You really care and want what's best for Prosecutor Blackquill, don't you, Detective? Leave the courtroom to us. It's not like we want a guilty verdict either. I was hoping you would say that. I'm really grateful to the two of you. To show my thanks, I'll give you another bit of information. It's about the eyewitness. I saw her hanging around the Space Center entrance a little while ago. Really? Then let's go find her, Mr. Wright. Thanks, you two. I feel a lot better now that I've been able to get that off my chest. I'm going to work extra hard to find that perfect piece of evidence for you. In justice we trust. On 3. 1, 2, 3. In justice we trust. Okay, later. There he goes. Wait, were we supposed to say in justice we trust back there too? Let's go see that witness now. Alright, the Space Center entrance it is. The witness must be around here somewhere. Hello, hello. It's a different robot. Don't tell me the witness is a robot. Hello, come over here. Ah, no, don't do that. Hello, hello. Are you sightseeing? Are you lost? Are you... I am Klonko. Shall I guide you? Guide you? I don't know why, but this robot is kind of freaking me out. Hey, you're not supposed to be wandering around. Again? Huh. I've had it with you, hunk of junk. Gak! I'm outside. Am I wandering? When did that happen? Okay, welcome back, hunk of junk. You don't know how close you came. If you didn't snap out of it, I was going to put you on the curb on trash day. Nothing works better than a 42.5 degree karate chop. That's pretty specific. Excuse me, but what are you... But are you the one who witnessed the murder? Oh, and... Phoenix Wright, the lead attorney for this case. How do you do? Big shot lawyers, huh? I'm Aura Blackquill. Ah! Blackquill! I'm a researcher developing robots here at the Cosmos Space Center. Black Quill? Could she be? This good-for-nothing robot is named Hunk of Junk. My name isn't Hunk of Junk. My name is Klunko. That's me, Miss Aura. Quit complaining. Your model number is Punko number 2. God, but Miss Aura, everyone calls me Klunko. Quit your squawking already. No, what are you doing? No, don't. There. I bet you won't be talking back now. God, I will obey completely. Yikes, I'd better watch what wires I cross with this one. I'm gonna have to use the restroom for a minute. If you can excuse me. Hold on. I wasn't feeling too warm anymore. So, put on some extra clothes. Okay. Your last name is Black Quill. Let me take that away. Do you have a relative in the legal profession? He's my daddy. You are correct. Simon Black Quill, who used to be a prosecutor, is... Hello, Morgan. How are you today? How was your day? Only speak when I order you to speak. Same as yesterday. Still early morning shifts. Today was pretty rough. So I'm feeling a bit tired, but good otherwise. Good otherwise. In good spirits, at least. Simon is my little brother. You know him? Yes, we met in court a few times, right, Athena? Okay, what was that? What a dull creature. Has her switch been turned off? Athena being shy, this is new. Oh yeah, I heard he was prosecuting again despite being a prisoner. Why doesn't he just stick to solving disputes among inmates in prison, right? I hope so too, yeah. I still gotta get up early tomorrow morning though. Hey, what do you think, hunk of junk? Gah, Miss Aura, that hurts. I'm asking you a question. Why don't you answer me? Useless hunk of junk. But Miss Aura, you told me to only speak when you order me to speak. I'm a customs officer. Morgan. I told you to never talk back to me. You're worth more scrap. Robot abuse, hawk attacks, Black Quill family life must sure be interesting. Well, do you have any other questions? Wait, of course you do. You're a lawyer. It's not like I'm on Simon's side or anything. I just want to get this over with. Your last name, the witness. So, you're the person who witnessed the incident. That's right. I was on the 4th floor of the main building in the robotics lab. The explosion disabled the elevators, so I lowered my emergency ladder like the detective leading the evacuation told me to. But it was such a pain, why couldn't they have used the ladders in the other rooms? It must have been a very troubling experience. Probably best to just humor her here. Yeah. Then as I passed by the 3rd floor boarding lounge 1 window, on my way down, I saw the crime as it happened. Oh. Okay. She's gonna be a witness in the trial the next day then. She better not be on her brother's side. And that's about it. So you saw the crime as it happened, and that's about it. I see. Wait, what? You saw it being committed? There's no time to just nod and repeat. So you saw into the 3rd floor So you saw into the 4th floor lounge, okay? The very scene of the crime, that's right. There's a small window on the right-hand side of the room. I looked through that from the outside. The room was pitch black, but I saw a shady figure holding a lighter in their left hand. And a knife in their right. That must have been the culprit. Did you see who that person was? Of course not. The power was out on that floor then. And there was only that tiny window. I see, but you did witness the moment of the murder. Ah, okay, so she didn't actually see my client do it. I saw the figure with the lighter raise their knife, and it happened at precisely 10 a.m. Did you witness anything else? Did the killer have any distinguishing features? I already told you it was pitch black in there, although I did notice that the lighter the person had in their left hand had a pretty ornament on it. It looked like a planet. It was blue, like a little Earth emblem. They had good taste in knickknacks anyway. An Earth emblem on the lighter? I'd better remember that. Okay, we don't have that piece of evidence though, I guess. Thank you for your statement. We'll definitely prove Mr. Starbuck's innocence with it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, right. I won't hold my breath. Pardon me? Oh, did I hurt your feelings? Sorry, I just detest lawyers, that's all. What don't you like about lawyers? What's not to like? It's just an instinctive dislike. It runs in the family, I guess. But don't feel bad, I hate prosecutors even more. Ah, okay. I guess that's good for us. She doesn't like lawyers, but she hates prosecutors. So I guess if she had to pick, that didn't make me feel any better, actually. Ah, okay. Why you hate lawyers? Because of the dark age of the law. Or something along those lines. Why do you hate lawyers so much? Little thing from my past. The whole legal system is meaningless in the first place. I certainly don't agree. I mean, people are imperfect. They lie, they're influenced by silly emotions. You can't expect such imperfect creatures to uphold a reasonable system of law. I like robots much better, even sad sacks like this one. Hey you, look alive there! So much abuse. Gah, yes, here I go! I am the ultimate robot! I can operate in the vacuum, blah 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 blah, robots rule the world. Okay, I did not skip that text, it just skipped itself. Alright, that's enough out of you. You're getting a little too carried away. Gah! What was I doing? Yep, I like robots much better. At least you can make them any way you want them. Unlike humans with their petty emotions and constant worries. Yikes. She's abusive! Excuse me. Excuse me. How can you say such things? Yeah, she's a control freak, yeah. Feeling emotions, worrying about the things we care about. That's what makes us human. Yeah, well, she doesn't care much for humans, I guess. Well, the girl finally talks and she starts with a speech. That's what makes us human, you mean? You mean getting angry and snorting like that? Snorting. Rational thought, that's what separates humans from animals. Unfortunately, your reasoning capabilities are more akin to that of a clever little monkey. But that's nothing to be ashamed of. It must be nice to have such a simple mind. Can I punch her, boss? Get a hold of yourself, Athena. Humans certainly are absurd. I said you were clever, didn't I? Poor thing. Tell me, with people like you in charge, how can I possibly trust the legal system? So she distrusts not only lawyers and prosecutors, but the whole legal system. What in the world happened to this woman to make her so bitter? Even if somebody important to me was killed, I would never wish to see their killer brought to trial, because I'd much rather kill them myself. You can't be serious. That thing you're wearing around your neck. Oh, this! Around Athena's neck? Does she mean widget? Oh, I get it. Well, Her Royal Highness has returned at last to her castle. Her royal what? Is she talking about Athena? By the way, I heard rumors. Our director is going to be the star witness in court tomorrow, right? Yeah, she was hiding something before, Athena. She's been here before. She has something to do with this place. And that's why the head of Widget around her neck looks so much like these robots. Director Cosmos? Yes, that's right. You poor things. You'd better be careful. That old man is a big liar and a huge braggart. What? He might seem like a bigwig, but the center has all kinds of problems. He has a lot of skeletons in his closet. Skeletons in my closet. But it's your problem, so why should I care? What? That's it? No friendly tips? No good luck guys? Just planned it. I'll leave you to your hoes. Woes. Woes. Come on, hunk of junk. Sorry. It's sad to me that she doesn't believe in our legal system anymore. She must have had a very bad experience to make her feel that way. Are you alright, Athena? You seem very down. Grr, I just can't believe she said all those things. Wow, she's really upset. Has she been trying not to let it show all this time? Well, I guess it's not all that surprising. You hear about fabricated evidence and false indictments on the news all the time. You mean that whole dark age of the law nonsense? I'm so sick of hearing about that. Well, they give you a bad name. I get it. Well, all we can do is believe in what we're doing. Yeah. You're right, boss. I agree. Maybe it's time we went back to see Mr. Starbuck. Good idea. We should tell him about the bullet and Mr. Blackwell's statement. Alright then, next stop, the detention center. Okay. Oh no, the downer. My lawyers are here. It must be bad news. Hey, not necessarily. We found a new witness. A researcher saw the moment of the murder through the lounge window during her escape. Really? So they're going to let me go? Unfortunately, it was dark and she couldn't identify the person. I should have known. My stars never align just right, you know. Excuse me, but we got a lead, Mr. Starbuck. The murderer had a lighter with an Earth emblem on it. A lighter with an Earth emblem? Oh! Did you remember something? Yep, I sure did. Just a little bit, though. Anything at all would be a help. So please tell us what you remembered. Okay. I like that music. I'll get some coffee to help me stay awake. Excuse me. It's mostly so I stop yawning, because yawning when you have to read out loud, constantly feeling the need to anyway, is certainly not helping. Alright. The lighter. I thought I was unconscious the whole time. But now I remember how I woke up for a few brief moments. That's huge! Do you remember seeing anything? A lighter. I saw the flame of a lighter floating in the darkness. Good, good. What else did you see? What was nearby? It was definitely the boarding lounge, so it must have been after Clay... It must have been after Clay carried me there. Alright. Did you ever move house? I remember when I was here a long time ago, I think you said you wanted to move. Yes, I did since then, yeah. I moved in July last year, yeah. So it's been a while, yeah. Yeah, I still lived with my parents before that, but I had to move for my job. To be closer to my workplace. You're trying to move to Scotland? Because where are you now? Like, I seem to recall that you were in the UK, but that's about all I can remember. In the light from the flame, I saw a dark shadow flickering. A dark shadow. That must have been... Ah, you're in London. Ah, okay. Third party we've been looking for. Thank you, Mrs. Starbuck. You've been more help than you know. If we can prove there was this third person at the scene and that they're the real killer, then you'll be cleared of all suspicion. The key will be whether or not we can identify this third person in court tomorrow. At least we have something to go on now, and that's a big plus. I should probably tidy the evidence up a bit before someone mistakes me for a hoarder. Irrelevant evidence tidied up. That's good. Actually, this is something that this game does very well. Like keeping things tidy and pointing you in the right direction without spoiling the right answers. Now that we have a glimmer of hope, I'm suddenly starving. Hey, don't talk about eating. Why don't we go back to the office and treat ourselves to a big celebration and a dance? For someone who's highly empathetic, you can be surprisingly unsympathetic. Write Anything Agency. So you found your strategy for tomorrow's trial, huh? Good for you, Daddy. Well, it's one step forward anyway. Hopefully it'll give us a fighting chance in court. As long as we can find out who this third person is. Now let's get something to eat. I'm starving. My vote is for Eldoon's Noodles. Eldoon's Noodles. Oh, Apollo. The drama queen. What are you doing here? I didn't think the clinic was ready to release you yet. My wounds are fine. And I'm done lying around. Apollo, you're supposed to be in bed. Leave the case to us. We'll take it from here. Thanks, but that's not an option. Not for me. His friend died. Talk. Your injuries. Shouldn't underestimate your injuries, Apollo, and I don't want you overdoing it. I'm fine, I'm not in pain anymore. Besides, they just gave me an IV at the clinic. An IV isn't a cure-all, mummy man. Anyway, just tell me how the case is going. Have you guys made any progress? A suspicious figure was spotted at the scene. We think they must be the real killer. A suspicious figure, huh? What's with the floating fork in the background? The place is full of magic tricks because Trucy Wright, Phoenix's adoptive daughter, is a performer, a magician. And I guess it's that sort of thing where it's a fake plate of spaghetti, and there's like how is it called? Like I don't know, an iron thing going through the fake spaghetti, attaching to the fork and holding it up to give it the impression that it's floating in midair, I suppose. It's that sort of thing. A suspicious figure, huh? Right. I thought you'd be happier than that. Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm happy. and I fully intend to see Clay's murderer apprehended. Absolutely nothing will get in the way of that. Yeah, see hoops, decks of cards, a little guillotine, these sorts of things, I guess. I like there's Phoenix's hat. When he is the oboe version of Phoenix in Apollo Justice, I think it was. There in the background, that blue hat. Clay was your best friend, right, Apollo? That's right, best friends since junior high. Sounds like me and Junie. So what was Clay like? Well, he was full of compassion and energy, and he had a really loud voice. If the two of you did voice training together now, I bet you'd break a few windows. Hahaha, you know, I bet you're right. Oh, look at them. It seems like only yesterday. Clay was a guy who lived for his dreams. We used to talk about it a lot. He was going to be an astronaut and me a lawyer. We'd talk well into the night, and even then, we never grew tired of it. Apollo, about that jacket. Oh, it's Clay's. I knew it. It's a special jacket that was only issued to members of the Hat Project. He was finally able to get one of his own once he was selected for the Hat 2 mission. He always looked so proud wearing it. But just when his dream was finally coming to, okay, well, yeah, it skipped a little bit then. Damn it, it's not fair. Yeah, when his dream was about to come true, I guess, yeah, well, we get the idea anyway. Apollo, I hope you don't try to carry the burden all alone. I guess we were both unlucky. My own debut was a disaster. I guess you're right on some level. The trial a year and a half ago wasn't exactly the smoothest of starts. That was a rough time for me, but Clay refused to let me quit. You're fine, he'd say. Don't give up. It was right during his screening exams, too. I couldn't have become a full-fledged lawyer without him. That "you're fine" of his is why I'm still, like, yeah, right, where I am now, I guess. You're fine, huh? I'm fine. Quote, unquote. You're fine and I'm fine were like your catchphrases, weren't they? Something like that. Sure brings back memories. When we were in junior high, Clay's mom passed away in an accident. But he wouldn't show his sadness to anyone. One night I found him crying all alone in the school's courtyard. And that's where he'd yell, "I'm fine." I don't know. Pretending that everything was fine when they weren't. Mom! Mom! Get away, Apollo! Don't come over here! Clay, listen to me. I don't have a mother either. Huh? Yeah, there was something about it in the previous game, but I've forgotten mostly. That's the problem when you stay away from these games for too long. You end up forgetting the finer details of the characters' backstories, I suppose. I always think everybody else has a mom. Why am I the only one? But you know, when I start to feel that way, I yell at the top of my lungs. I holler, "I'm fine!" And then, you know what? I start to feel like maybe I really will be fine. Apollo Justice is fine! Okay, Clay, now it's your turn. Okay. Clay Terran is fine! There you go. Now we're both fine. Haha. We're fine! Hey, we're fine! Haha. What are you laughing about? Haha. See? We're fine. You laughed first. Ha! I'm fine. You're fine. We're both fine. Power of self-suggestion or something like that. Thanks, Apollo. When you say it out loud, it really starts to feel real. And as long as you don't give up, you can keep on trying. That's what we believed. As long as you don't give up. Wasn't there somebody else who said something similar? If I give in to my fear, I'll never find the truth. As long as I don't give up, I can keep up the fight. Clay called Mr. Starbuck his mentor and looked up to him. I wonder if I can be a good role model for my staff like Mr. Starbuck. Sorry, Mr. Wright, but I'll be taking a leave of absence. What? Wait, what do you mean by a leave? You're really serious? Can you at least give me a reason why? When I put Clay's jacket on, I swore to him that I would catch this killer myself. But that's our goal too! I agree with Athena. We should work together to find the truth. The truth, huh? That's a noble cause. But what if the truth you seek and the truth I seek turn out to be different? I'm not sure I follow. What are you saying, Apollo? I'm going to catch the person responsible for taking my friend's life, in my own way. Take good care of Mrs. Starbuck for me. But that's what we're trying to achieve! It would be more efficient if we all worked together. Now I must be going. Goodbye. Not to mention, since you knew the victim, you might be invaluable for our investigation. Goodbye? Did he just say goodbye? I sensed a lot of seething anger and hatred coming from him, and also suspicion. That would be too sensible. Yeah. Alright, he's not walking out on us like this. I'm going to go talk some sense into him. Hold on, Athena. Apollo can believe what he wants, but I believe he's wrong. Even if we take different paths, the truth we arrive at should be the same. I think the quicker we solve this case, the better it'll be for Apollo. Yeah, you're right, boss. Alright, that's enough for one day. Make sure you're ready for tomorrow's trial, okay? If we were here right now, Apollo would say, I'm fine, everything is fine, I just hope things really do turn out fine tomorrow. Okay, that's the end of the investigation? Yeah, okay, we're moving on to the trial. Well, I think I should be able to get through the next chapter tonight, I think. I'll certainly try anyway. Okay. Court is now in session. All rise. I suppose we should reconvene the trial of Solomon Starbuck or something? Wait, who's the judge? Where is the judge?
Objection!
Your Honor, could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise. Oh, yes, my apologies. I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs. I mean, first the courtroom exploded. Nice one. And then Mr. Tenate self-destructed. I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tenate. Self-destructed. Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Mr. Tenate's actions. Okay. So you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense? Do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial so far? Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready. Very well. Is the prosecution also ready? I take it you'd like me to give the opening statement this time? Looks like the judge has become a pretty good mind reader. Well, he's certainly seen more than his fair share of colorful prosecutors. You could say he's something of a veteran of sorts. Von Karma, Franziska von Karma. Yeah, Manfred von Karma, Franziska von Karma, Miles Edgeworth. Well, I guess he wasn't the worst. And a few others who were quite special. Let's see. In the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Tarn, escaped from Launchpad 1 carrying the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center and on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launchpad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge. And how could the victim climb down the ladder if he was carrying the defendant? That was the mystery that needed to be solved. But Mr. Justice proved that the victim was killed in the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts related to this point? Upon further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in the lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Dono's argument was correct. So that means the testimonies of the first 2 people on the scene are suspect. There were 2 people who claimed to be the first on the scene. But can we truly trust their statements? Let's see, the 2 people were Detective Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos, right? Well, one of the 2 is dead now, so they're not likely to testify anymore. Okay, excuse me. You think that one of them might have given a false statement to the police? Yes, it's certainly possible. We might have to do a little more digging. And just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold. That accursed fellow. He killed my witness. He killed Detective Arm. He definitely put the kibosh on anyone asking her about what she saw. I've never heard the expression before. I guess that means, prevent something? He definitely prevented anyone from asking her about what she saw. I guess that's what that means, but I've never heard the expression before. Kibosh. But she uses foreign expressions all the time, so yeah, but I didn't know it's the first time I hear this. But then English is not my native language, so there's that too. Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has once again become the main focus of this trial. It's obvious Prosecutor Blackwell still thinks it was Mr. Starbuck. Well, he wants a guilty verdict, so he's not gonna work towards anything else. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Nevertheless, the defense argues there was a 3rd person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim.
Objection!
Objection!
To make such reckless claims in a courtroom takes a bold man, or a stupid one. There was no 3rd person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone dotty already, old man?
Objection!
I'm not that old! We'll see who's the daughter after I trounce you with my years of experience. Little boy, how old is Wright? Not much older than 30, I guess, at this point. How old is this guy? 28. And Phoenix? Where's Phoenix actually in there? He's not even in there. He doesn't have a character profile. Okay. Yeah, but I don't think he's that old. Well, 28, 27. But then again, yeah, I guess the judge isn't in there either. Well. He's like the main character, so you're not supposed to be asking questions about him, I suppose. We'll see who's the daughter after I trounce you, etc., etc., etc. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. Furthermore, a Space Center employee also saw a suspicious figure at the scene. They saw a 3rd person. Excuse me. Ah, no. Hold on. Not on that screen, Rudy. On this one. Thank you. Something I need to check. Geez, I had another website to check this kind of thing. Yes, this one. Never mind. Okay. Okay, excuse me. Let's continue. I see my sister has been running her mouth. That's right. I almost forgot that Aura is Prosecutor Blackwell's sister. No matter, she didn't see this mystery person's face clearly. Therefore, there is no evidence to indicate that this person was not the defendant. I guess the possibility that the figure was Mrs. Starbuck is still there, but we can probably prove that it couldn't have been him. Something about the helmet, maybe. The person was not wearing their spacesuit or something. In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene. Director Cosmos, huh? Very well, bailiff, please bring the witness to the stand. Why, I believe I've seen you before in the newspapers. Of course you have. Of course you have, for I am Yuri Cosmos, director of the Cosmos Space Center, which was of course named after me, Yuri Cosmos. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me? Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging. 7 years ago, I successfully launched the Hat One, and we're not interested in that. Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I am trying to hold back my tears at seeing such a great man standing before me. Ooh. Trying the, how should I say, flattery approach to get him to give him what he wants. So could you please proceed directly to your important testimony? Ha ha ha! I see this fine young lad has a proper appreciation of greatness. Then allow me to begin my epochal testimony that will be recorded in the annals of history. It's gonna be an anal pain, alright. Yeah. The speech of Prosecutor Blackwell's just now. It sounded more to me like he was poking fun at Director Cosmos. It's probably for the best that it sailed right over the director's head. Now then, Director Cosmos, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony, please. Illustrious testimony. What I saw at the scene. Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge, and Turan lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. How can you say that, though? I see, so in your testimony you claim, you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped from the launch pad to the lounge? And just after the victim had been killed? Oh, the horror, the humanity, but what I said is what I saw. And what I saw is what I said. Okay. Courageous action to take in the face of such terrifying explosions, wouldn't you say? To save my men, I went personally into the epicenter of danger. Risking my own life for theirs. Ha 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 ha. Well, what do you know? It sounds like the director really cares about his men. Or his reputation. Yeah, although it sounds more like he was scared and just had a peek from far away. Is the defense ready to cross-examine the witness? Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmos' testimony is pretty vague. I'm going to have to press him and draw out more information before I do anything else. What I saw at the scene. Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Terran lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. So you're not sure then?
Hold it!
You're not even sure. Aura Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge, but she was not as categoric as he is. She gave the statement that it was too dark to see the person's face clearly. Did you see this figure's face clearly? No, not clearly. The lighter they were holding illuminated the area around their feet at the time. But other than that, I could see little else. That's why I could see Terran, but I couldn't see who the other person was. So for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck, is that correct? Isn't that correct? I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the type of man who's capable of murder.
Objection!
Objection! Conjecture! When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there was no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director? Yes, that's right. Only Starbuck and Terran were there by that time. It could have been someone else in the suit, though, when you peeked. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark and the figure vanished. You mean they disappeared? That's odd. The reason the figure appeared to vanish is because it was a defendant. Oh? Why? Why is it that because it appeared to vanish, therefore it was a defendant? I'd like you to explain that for me. When the witnesses weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness. Hold on, Director Cosmos, did you ever take your eyes off of the scene? Just for a brief instant, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by. If you took your eyes off of the scene, then this third person could have escaped during that time. But what escape route could this person have used? The direction opposite the control room, the southern door to the elevators. There's no security lock on that door, so it would have been possible to escape that way.
Objection.
All things are possible, right, Dono? The real question is, do you have any proof? Well, my neck hurts. Well. If we're just talking possibilities, we could each profess whatever we'd like. An inmate who used to be it's always about his inmates. An inmate who used to be a university professor and lunar researcher used to say that there is a kingdom of little green men who live under the surface of the moon. As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon for what we've done to it. What we've done to the moon? But I say, where's your proof that this quaint kingdom exists? He's calling your theory a work of fiction, boss. And he's right, I don't have any proof yet. Southern door was a possible escape route. I'd better make a mental note of that. Director Cosmos, may I ask you a question? Yes. Why did you look away from the boarding lounge? Ha 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 ha. There's actually another tale of bravery behind the answer to that. Oh no, not another tale. It was when Detective Arm saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her. What? You're saying Detective Arm raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure? I imagine her instincts as a detective told her they were the killer. I don't know about that. And were you able to prevent Detective Arm from firing her gun? I'm afraid I was too late. I wasn't able to stop her. She identified herself clearly, and then she fired 2 warning shots at the shadowy figure. If she was shooting at the figure, they were not warning shots. You don't aim at a person to fire a warning shot. I'm sorry to say, there's a clear contradiction there, Your Honor. You fire in the air or something, at the ceiling, at the floor. Well, one of the first safety rules anyway is you don't point your gun at something you don't want to shoot at anyway. That's one of the first rules. Well, not the first rule, but one of the first rules anyway. This information about Detective Arm's actions sounds critically important. Please add it to your testimony. Ah, okay. She fired 2 warning shots at the figure. But I have there is only 1 bullet hole though. Unless she fired twice through the same hole. Can you own guns in Belgium? Yeah, you can, yeah. But it's very, there are a lot of rules anyway. It's not easy to own one. But it is possible. I'll be going to get my training in 5 weeks actually to learn how to shoot, since I'll be carrying a gun on the job for soon. And then once I'm allowed to do that, I can actually have an easier way through the system to own my own gun if I want to. I'm not sure I want to though. Unless I wanted to go train myself to shoot when I'm not working anyway. In private shooting ranges or something. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots at the figure. So Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, did she? That's the first time that info has come out. Wonder if I can find any inconsistencies. Yeah, you can own them, but it's like if you're a hunter, a licensed hunter, or if you, for example, if you can justify that you use one for sport. I don't really like guns, but I would own one if I could. It's not a matter of liking them, but well, yeah, I can totally relate. Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Taryn lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. Yeah, hold on. I've been rereading the same thing. I know what I have to do, but... Okay, here... this one.
Objection!
There's only one bullet hole. Are you sure you were really paying attention to what Detective Arm was doing? You doubt my words. Words that will someday be written down in history books. Somehow I don't think that those exact words will ever be written down in any history books. Mr. Wright, could you please explain yourself so that we can all understand? You said that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, and yet only 1 bullet hole was ever found on the scene. What? Only 1 bullet hole means the gun was only fired once, and yet Director Cosmos is saying Detective Arm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such glaring contradiction into a history book.
Objection!
Objection! Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirmed that 2 shots were fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Objection!
But there was only 1 bullet hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet hole vanish to? The bird is really cute. You should know the answer to that already. I like how he strokes his beak and stuff. That's cute. I should. During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We've already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same caliber as the detective's gun. But the bullet we found was .10. So how is that possible? Hold on a minute. The rifling marks also match up. Yeah, the one we have is a... How did they spell caliber? Wait, what? You can spell it that way? No. I don't think so, right? Well, the rifling marks also match up. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Arm's gun. Here it's spelled with an E. So, well, okay, fine. I don't get it. This game is has quite a few spelling errors anyway. Bullet from Arm's gun added to the court record. Rifling marks. They're like a gun's fingerprints on the bullet, correct? Yeah. And examining the rifling marks on the bullet can tell us the gun it was fired from. It's not like we've already done that in like 5 previous games, Mr. Judge. One of the bullets the detective fired found its way into the holographic image display. The other bullet came to a stop near the victim's oxygen tank. The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots. But it's not the same caliber. My beautiful contradiction. Gone. All gone. So that bullet hole was from a .38 caliber, huh? I'd better update the record. Okay. What about the bullet we found then? Very good. Now we know the fate of both of the shots Detective Arm fired. Mr. Wright, does that clear up all of your questions? No. It doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display and the other hit the oxygen tank. Does that really clear up everything about what happened at the scene? No, it doesn't. We still have a bullet unaccounted for. No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Oh. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber gun, but that doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found at the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person. Well, an armed person, that, anyway. Oh. He doesn't know about it. Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting, Mr. Wright. What piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person at the scene? This one. Yeah.
Take that!
And what is this metal pellet supposed to be? It's a bullet, Your Honor. Excuse me. Just a little something of great importance we found at the crime scene, Your Honor. You found it where? In a floor gutter at the crime scene. It looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a .10 caliber bullet, making it much smaller than one of Detective Arm's .38 calibers. Yeah, it couldn't have been shot from that gun. Now that means... exactly, one more person must have been there in the lounge. A third person who had a gun that could fire .10 caliber bullets. Grr. And if that's true, it explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. The third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired our warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos? Ha ha ha, it looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us. Oh, there's a mystery person now in your story. Jeez. What's this now? I like his little vehicle. What? You never breathed the word of any of this to me before. Ha ha ha. Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know? In a court of law, no they don't. Foolish old geezer. So Director Cosmos really has been hiding the presence of a third person all along? Why? Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to the court about what you really saw. Tell the truth! What did you see? You may be a very great man, but in my courtroom you are just another witness. You won't receive special treatment here. Now please give accurate testimony. Leave no detail out. And no inconsistencies in. What I really saw at the scene. Detective Arm and I rushed to the control room together. In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and turned on the floor. We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us. Given that there was no third person in the lounge when the witness entered it, does this mean the person who fired the gun had to have been the defendant? Where did he get it? Where did he get any? Not necessarily. It's still possible that it was someone else. Most likely, as soon as Detective Arm and Director Cosmos discovered this person, they escaped through the southern door, the one that didn't have a security lock. The one towards the elevators, right? Double-edged swords are tricky locked. Mishandle one and it is you who is cut down. Huh? Uh-oh. Doesn't sound good. Your reasoning could apply if Space Boy were the killer as well. Think about it, after being discovered, he could have fired the .10 caliber gun. Detective Arm would have responded by firing 2 warning shots. All he had to do was feign unconsciousness to invent the possibility of a third person. Mr. Starbuck didn't have a gun in his possession when he was found by the police. Nor has a gun been found at the crime scene. Its absence can only be explained if there was a third party who took it with them.
Objection!
Well, that makes sense. Recall the existence of a trash chute in the boarding lounge. The defendant could have simply thrown the gun down the chute.
Objection!
Objection! But you can't deny the possibility of a third person leaving with the weapon.
Objection!
Objection.
It's up to you to prove that possibility. Oh, because you don't have to prove yours? And I trust you haven't forgotten my little piece of decisive evidence. What evidence? Why, the detonator switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, naturally. The most compelling evidence of all that tells us he is the culprit. I did forget all about that. Look, your boldness, how deliciously obvious it is that they lack the evidence to rival mine. Well, yeah, you've been holding it back from me. If I had that information. Wow, we sliced our third-person theory to ribbons and served it to us, just like that. Yes, well, I have a question of my own, actually. That bullet that the mysterious figure shot, what did it hit exactly? It hit me. So does that mean you're a ghost? I was wondering when you would realize it, your boldness. Director Cosmos is an authentic, bona fide ghost. He can even pass through walls. Eek! But that's not true. Prosecutor Blackquill, shame on you for teasing the nice old gentleman. Your boldness, it was all in jest. Please show yourself again. Since when do you jest? Are you sure? In that case, how did you manage to survive being shot, Director Cosmos? Ha ha ha, I'm glad you asked. It was a miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself. The bullet hit my glorious Medal of Honor, whereby it ricocheted, thus saving my life. What? That's unbelievable. I have to check this out. Oh wow, look at that. There's one extra Gyaxa star. The odds are literally astronomical. I guess it really was a miracle. There's something I don't understand though. When was he shot? If there was one bullet hole in the window that showed it was a .38 caliber, and he was shot when he was in the, what was that room again? There's something that just doesn't make sense. Where's the floor plan? Is it this one? Or it's in the pamphlet I'm supposed to look, I think. Yeah, right. They were supposed to be in the control room. And if he was shot when he was there, and the shot came from here, first of all, why is there no second bullet hole in the window? That's one thing. And secondly, where did the bullet go? The only bullet we have is the one we found on this side. So it seems to me that it was probably more likely in boarding lounge 1 than in the control room when he witnessed all of that. He probably wasn't where he said he was. It's beginning to really feel like the Cosmos is watching out for Director Cosmos. But why did you conceal this information, Director Cosmos? A great man such as myself has to hide things on occasions, no matter how much it hurts. It is the plight of the truly great. It may be hard for this generation to understand. I don't know, but it sounds fishy to me. What else is he hiding? Let's just cross-examine him and see what we can find out. Now then, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. What I really saw at the scene. Detective Arm and I rushed to the control room together. In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and turned on the floor. We were sitting in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us. That's probably the thing that is wrong. We found the bullet in the other room.
Objection!
Yep, there we go. Okay, that was the right one. Director Cosmos, I believe you are telling this great court a glorious lie. A great man like me, tell a lie. Have you ever heard of such a thing in all of history? I'm sure, yeah. There are probably quite a few examples. My accusation is based on the positions of the people who were in the lounge. According to your testimony, you and Detective Arm were near the control room door. Ah, it was near a door that they were, okay. And the mystery figure was standing in the middle of the boarding lounge. If, as you say, the figure fired a gun at you from this position, then the bullet would have traveled in this direction. However, we found the .10 caliber bullet here. Not only that, but there is no second hole in the window anyway, so how would the bullet have traveled through? Oh, he says. The trajectory and where the bullet was actually found contradict each other. Director Cosmos, where were you really when you were being shot at? Arr! Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the human merry-go-round.
Objection!
Don't tell me you've forgotten already. Didn't the witness himself just tell you the bullet hit his metal? Of this, there is no mistake. We're not questioning this. But in that case, the bullet should have been found near the east side of the room. Are you trying to say that you can explain this inconsistency? Of course. Ah, okay. Well, I didn't think so. What? Oh, great, Director Cosmos. I hate when he tries to flatter him like that. Is there something you'd like me to expound upon? Expound. You were in fact not in the control room to the east, were you? You were looking into the lounge from the door to the south, is that not right? Garr! What are you getting at? Use your own brain. Your head must have some use other than housing that bird's nest. Bird's nest? Why does everyone pick on my hair? Director Cosmos and the detective witnessed the scene from the southern door. The killer fired at them there, and that is why the bullet was found in the south. Ah, that makes some sense, actually. Also, the witness being at the southern door is rather favorable to for the prosecution. Huh? I've got a bad feeling about this. How about it, Director, if you don't tell the truth this time? Yikes, it's handcuffs. You will become but rust upon my sword. I relish the chance to cut down a great man. Alright, I'll tell the truth. Just put your sword away. You are correct. I, the great Yuri Cosmos. Was looking into the room from the southern door. What? That's the complete opposite of all the testimony he's given so far. How many times is he gonna change his version? I have? How? What? The director and the detective were near the southern door. Meaning the killer couldn't have escaped through here. Ah, well. The western door required print recognition. The corridor beyond was filled with smoke. The only escape route left was the eastern control room door. And the only way to get through there was with Director Cosmos' fingerprints. Arrgh! In short, there would be no escape for any third person had there been one. Ah! My third person just disappeared like in one of Trucy's magic tricks. Order! Order in the court! Director Cosmos, why did you tell such an outrageous lie? You were covering for the defendant, isn't that right? Yes, it was all for the love of my men, if I said I was in the Eastern Control Room. It would mean the culprit could have escaped through the southern door. It would have meant that there could have been a third person. All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. Said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for a third person. What a convoluted lie. Was he really covering for the defendant? It looks like we've come to a conclusion. That the defense's argument, the possibility of a third person, has crumbled. No! It's over. Yikes, the judge is about to hand down his verdict. Think, Phoenix. Think! This is the perfect time to try and turn my thinking around. If a third person had no way of escaping the scene, maybe they never left the scene? I don't know. I don't know, actually. It's not obvious. Then what if one of the people at the scene was this third person? Him! He was in the room! That's what I've been saying all along. Wait, what if the whole premise is all wrong? Director Cosmos said that he and Detective Arm rushed to the scene together, but what if that premise isn't true? What if one of them reached the scene before the other one, and if that person entered the lounge, then they would be the third person. I still say he was in the lounge when he was shot. Cosmos, I mean. The defendant is the only one who could have killed the victim and shot at the director. There doesn't appear to be any room for argument against these claims. I will now render my verdict. Objection! Please wait, Your Honor. There is still one possibility. Oh, this had better be good, Mr. Wright. There is one and only one person who could have escaped from the scene, and that person would be the first person who arrived on the scene. Then upon entering the boarding lounge, the second person to arrive came via the southern door. That's why the first person fled from the room, using an escape route that was accessible only to them. Very well, let's hear more about this theory. Who is this one person who could have escaped from the boarding lounge? Well, Yuri Cosmos himself. Shoot. There we go. This one.
Take that!
Take that! What? But that's... Mr. Wright, what are you claiming here? Of all the people who were at the scene, only the witness could have escaped. The director is the only one with the authority to open the control room door after all. But that means... Exactly, the true identity of the third person is our current witness. Director Yuri Cosmos. Garrrr! What? What? Order! Order in the court, I say! Mr. Wright, you would explain yourself in more detail. Why don't we check which caliber was the bullet that hit his badge? I assert that Director Cosmos arrived at the scene before Detective Arm and entered the boarding lounge alone. Detective Arm arrived after that and saw a suspicious figure who was actually Director Cosmos standing in the lounge. And that's why she fired those 2 warning shots. Ah, I've been hit. I've been hit on the starboard side. Captain Wright, it's a direct hit on the enemy ship, sir. A magnificent shot. Warning shots fired from the enemy ship. Prepare to intercept. Cosmos, you have told a lie in this court once again. I've been hit. I've been hit on the port side. The enemy has called in reinforcements. Earth to Cosmos Control Center, requesting permission to ask that you return to reality. But my ship will not go down to anything less than the ultimate weapon of evidence.
Objection!
But I do have evidence, in fact. You could say that your battleship bears its scar. If Director Cosmos is a third person or a Blackwell saw, well, he's pointing out to the fact that Arm, or whatever her first name was, shot him, so it must be the .38 caliber bullet, sorry. This third person fired at Detective Arm, Detective Arm, and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos? Hahaha, it looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us. Director Cosmos must have been the one who fired the .10 caliber gun. When Detective Arm discovered him in the lounge, it only makes sense that he would have turned and shot at her. Therefore, the evidence on the director's body is of a different kind of relevance than before. Once we compare it against another piece of evidence, the mark that you received from the third party will be all the proof we need. To prove that you were the one there in the lounge. Brace for further impact. Comparison against this piece of evidence will prove that you were the one in the lounge. Well, the bullet... No? Which one is this? No, that's not the one. This one. The bigger one. The .38 caliber bullet found on the floor at the scene didn't hit the oxygen tank. It hit Director Cosmos' metal. If we have that ricochet mark on the metal analyzed, I'm sure the caliber will match up. And if that mark proves to be from a .38 caliber bullet, it will prove that you are the third person we've been looking for. He doesn't seem to like it. The bridge is destroyed, losing altitude. All hands, abandon ship. If that's true, then what about the bullet that hit the oxygen tank? It was the .10 caliber bullet, in other words. It was the bullet fired by Yuri Cosmos, isn't that right, Director? No, you've got it all wrong. I don't know if that's true at this point. I think it's maybe a bit early still to say that. Excuse me, I'll use the restroom very quickly and turn on the lights in here because I was relying on sunlight and it's starting to get dark. Excuse me, I'll be right back. Bear with me. Okie dokie. Right. And you have to remove this. Alright, let's continue. No, you've got it all wrong. Whoops. There we go. What? The engines have started again. It's a miracle. I'm not going down yet. Witness, stop this at once and confess the truth. If you don't want the history books to say that a great man was a great liar, then accept your fate and tell the truth. Are you giving me orders? Me, the great director of the Cosmos Space Center? But the Cosmos revolves around me! Okay. So silly. Someone get me off this thing! Order in the court! Will someone please stop the witness from spinning? Get him off this thing, then. He's still on it. Phew, thank goodness we were able to stop him from spinning off the face of the earth. While he was twirling, I took the liberty of running an analysis on the mark on the metal. It was made by a .38 caliber bullet, matching it with the size of Detective Arm's firearm. Are you ready to confess the truth, witness? No, you've got it all wrong. This is just a misunderstanding. Is he going to start piling on more lies? It looks like it. But no matter how many lies he tells, I'll just expose them one by one. I'll make that big liar tell the truth. To be continued. Ah, well, okay. That was a short mid-chapter, I guess. Save the game, yes. 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 Okay. Okay. Director Cosmos, a new possibility has been presented by the defense. They are claiming that you were this third person. Forgive me, I'm so sorry. So the great pioneer of space development is revealed to be just another fabulous cur. I only have one question for the likes of you. Shall I send you off quickly or very quickly? That's it, it's spinning again. The evidence doesn't lie, Director Cosmos, so don't try to talk your way out of this. Fine, I'll tell the truth. It's all just as you say, Mr. Wright. It's true that I was there in the boarding lounge. I got there before Detective Arm, and when she arrived, she fired warning shots at me. Cosmos? I was afraid people would mistake me for the killer, so I escaped to the control room. Ah, okay. So he took one in the badge, ran away, and the other one went into the screen. That's what seems the most likely, I suppose. I then went past the elevators and all the way around to boarding lounge 1 again. But again, it was not a warning shot if it hit him right in the chest. So don't say it was. Jeez. I came up behind Detective Arm and pretended to be the second on the scene. Uh-huh. What a troublesome old man you are, with such convoluted deeds and thoughts. I see. So then, are you still insisting that you did not kill the victim? Of course I am. When I arrived at the lounge alone, I saw the true killer. The great Eerie Cosmos was a history, something. He's just making stuff up anyway. Now, hold on just one moment. We just proved a few minutes ago that the third person that Mr. Starbuck and Miss Aura Blackquill saw was you. No, it wasn't me. I saw the person as well. Excuse me. I would just leave him to take the fall. Okay. That is an excellent point. What? All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for a third person. Well, it makes some sense if he told those lies to cover for Mr. Starbuck. Still, a lie is a lie, Athena. So Director Cosmos claims he's not the culprit, but where's the proof? I just remembered. I have an alibi. Miss Blackquill said that she saw the killer at 10 AM, correct? Yes, and... Well, I was on the 4th floor helping with the evacuation effort. Ask any member of the staff you'd like, they'll corroborate me. The director is not fibbing to the court for once. I confirmed that he has an alibi for the time specified. So you're claiming that Miss Blackquill saw the killer commit the crime first at 10 AM? And that you arrived at the lounge after that? Yes, and I believe that the person I saw is the same person that Miss Blackquill saw. Although it was pitch black, so it was more of a shadowy figure and less of a person. And I couldn't actually see her face, but it was definitely the silhouette of an Earthling. As long as he has an alibi, we can't very well claim Director Cosmos was the killer. No, we can't. Then again, maybe we don't need to yet. I wonder if he was really covering for Mr. Starbuck. Your Honor, the defense moves to have the director testify about the person he saw. Very well, Director Cosmos, your testimony, please. Witness testimony. What I really witnessed. As I tried to enter the lounge, the true killer inside fired a gun at me. I hid to avoid getting shot, but when I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air. I was near the elevator side door and well, the launch pad 1 door. And the control room door should have been shut tight to the killer. So you were shot at by the killer as well, and then they disappeared? Yes, though luckily no harm came to my glorious body. Unfortunately, the bullet hit Terran's oxygen tank. I know because I heard a pang that must have been the sound of the tank being ruptured. Wait, but I thought the bullet hit his metal. That was Detective Arm's bullet, remember? Right, what a mess this is turning into, so let's see. Director Cosmos is claiming that when he found Mr. Terran and his killer, the culprit shot a .10 caliber bullet at him. Right, but it actually hit Mr. Terran's oxygen tank and ruptured it. And then the killer disappeared and the director went into the boarding lounge. When Detective Arm caught up and fired those warning shots at him, judging by his metal, it looks like one of them almost took him out too. Good summary, but that doesn't explain where our mystery killer went. Director Cosmos, I was wondering if you could elaborate on when the figure disappeared. I'm ashamed to admit I tried to hide myself when I was shot at, but when I peeped back into the lounge, the real killer was gone. I rushed into the lounge straight away to investigate. But what I found was Terran with a knife in his chest and Starbuck out cold on the floor. So we have a culprit who vanished from a scene that had no escape route. Vanished without a trace. It's truly like one of the great mysteries of the cosmos. A riddle of the ages indeed, but I'd rather know how a fibbing leech such as you can be lauded as great. Okay. A great man is always misunderstood in his own time, but he must remain true to himself even if those around him don't understand. Wow, that might be the first true statement he said all day. But how do you suppose this person managed to vanish so suddenly? Simple, because it was Spaceboy himself. When he was spotted by the director and Aura, he quickly feigned unconsciousness. That would certainly take all the mystery out of the idea of a vanishing culprit. It's the easiest explanation, that's for sure. I want to raise an objection, but I don't have any counter-evidence. Director Cosmos, when you saw this person, did you also see Mr. Starbuck on the floor? No, because it was as dark as a black hole in there. I didn't see Starbuck until the other person vanished and I entered the room. That wasn't exactly helpful, on the contrary. I'm prepared to accept your surrender, Wright Dono. I can't find any holes in this testimony, but I can't give up. Mr. Wright, why don't you let me help? While the director was giving his testimony, I detected a cacophony of discord. Cacophony? I'm not sure how you pronounce it, actually. Which means he's hiding his true feelings from us, huh? This just might help us find out what happened to our vanished killer. That'd be great, Athena. Let's see what you can do with him. You got it, boss. I wouldn't want to miss this chance to delve into a great mind. Yuri Cosmos, prepare to hand over the secrets of your heart to me. As I tried to enter the lounge... okay. Ah, yeah. Sorry, I can't use my controller here. I have to use the mouse. As I tried to enter the lounge... The true killer inside fired a gun at me. Okay, nothing wrong so far. I hit to avoid getting shot. Okay, he felt anger. But when I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air. Wait, why is he not surprised here?
Got it!
Yeah, he should have been surprised, no? You must have thought it was very strange that the killer vanished into thin air. I did, that kind of thing just doesn't happen usually. And yet at that time you barely registered any shock at the occurrence. What? Where are you? I can only think of one reason as to why you weren't surprised by the killer's vanishing act. Was he expecting it? You must have had a good idea of where they went, isn't that right? What? No, of course not. That's preposterous. Only I can enter the control room. What about the trash chute? No? Only I can enter the control room. Yeah, because that's an escape route that hasn't been accounted for, I suppose. And the area beyond the launch pad door was filled with smoke, making it impassable. And as for the southern door, I was standing right there. So there was nowhere for the killer to run to. Maybe or maybe not. You went into the room to check on Mr. Starbuck and Mr. Tarrant, yes? What if the culprit took that opportunity to silently slip out through the southern door? I highly doubt it, as you recall, right after I entered the lounge. Detective Arm came rushing towards it herself via the southern hallway. Anyone trying to escape through there would have been caught by her. And yet the director wasn't surprised. The killer vanished. So you're absolutely sure there was no escape route for the culprit to use? It's working, boss. One more punch and it'll be a knockout. There seems to be one more emotion that's at odds with this testimony. Go get him. Okay, back in the Matrix it is. Time to pinpoint our way to victory. Okay, the trickler inside fired a gun at me. I hit to avoid getting shot. Okay, here, no surprise, but we already pinpointed that. I was near the elevator side door. And well, the launch pad 1 door. Why is he sad? Why is he sad here? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be afraid of the launch pad door. It's fright? The Great Yuri Cosmos, afraid? And what basis do you have for that outlandish accusation? Because you know that this is where the killer went? Whether I have any basis or not, you seem quite distressed by it. I'm most certainly not. Director Cosmos, there's something about the launchpad door you're not telling us, isn't there? Wow, he's speechless. Looks like you hit the nail on the head, boss. I'll just input those 2 pieces of data and yes, just what I wanted to see. Presto changeo! Let's discord. It looks like we're on the right track. Thanks, Athena. Now to make sense of what we've learned. Director Cosmos wasn't surprised that the culprit suddenly vanished from the lounge. Which points to the possibility that he knew where the killer had escaped to. Well, that's what I was saying, yeah. That's what seems to make the more sense. Furthermore, talking about the door to the launchpad made him uneasy. In other words, he's probably hiding something about the launchpad 1 door. When we put these 2 pieces together, only one solution to this puzzle comes to mind. Director Cosmos, did the real killer escape through here? The launchpad 1 corridor. Door? Yeah. That door?
Take that!
The culprit went through the launchpad 1 door to escape, didn't they? Yes, I mean, no, disaster to starboard, we're going to crash into an asteroid. A master tactician you are not. But the area beyond that door was filled with smoke, wasn't it? True, but this is still the only logical answer there is. If we can just figure out what the director is hiding about the launchpad 1 door, we should be able to iron out the logical inconsistencies. But that door requires fingerprint recognition. Only Starbuck, Tarrant, and I have access. I don't see how the killer could have opened that security lock, do you? So you are accepting the idea that it wasn't Starbuck then? That's an easy one. The killer was right there in the boarding lounge, meaning there is a way he could have easily gotten past that security lock. Well, if Starbuck was unconscious, he could have just, like, brought his hand up to the thing, no? He wouldn't have to force him. I propose that the killer used this person's fingerprints to get past the security lock. Well, the one who was passed out, that's to say, where is he? This one. Yeah.
Take that!
That's it. Okay. That's... Mr. Starbuck was lying unconscious there in the boarding lounge. Anybody could have easily gotten past the security lock by using Mr. Starbuck's prints. And actually, Mr. Starbuck's prints are exactly what we found on the device's screen. Ah! It looks like he does have something to hide about the Launchpad 1 door. And I'm betting it's got something to do with the culprit's escape route. But I don't have enough information to see the whole picture yet. You know, something just occurred to me. Would you like to hear it? Oh, the judge? Something occurred to him? Oh, yes, by all means. There's a security camera in boarding lounge 1. Right, the one that recorded the victim and the defendant. What about it, Your Honor? If the true culprit escaped into the Launchpad 1 corridor, then that might be recorded on the security footage as well. It cuts right after the image we have here, though. Then the mystery would be solved. What do you think of my logic? Sadly, that's not gonna work. I hope you didn't strain your faculties too much for that, your baldness. I beg your pardon? Look, if we play the security footage beyond this point... Oh my, the footage cuts off. The camera was running on backup power, but apparently the power cables were damaged, most likely by the after effects of the explosion. There is no footage after this, be it of criminals or space aliens. And I thought it was such a good idea too. Just because your grandchild is watching from the gallery, it doesn't mean you should try to show off too much grandpa boldness. Prosecutor Blackwell, how did you know about my grandchild? Hello, puppy. I think his grandchild just learned a little about the harshness of the adult world. Setting aside the issue of grandchildren, I'd like to have the witness continue. Director Cosmos, could you tell us more about when you entered the lounge? If I must. I hid to avoid getting shot. After the killer vanished, I went into the lounge. Info update. But that's when Detective Arm appeared from the elevator side door. Well, yeah. And then the detective shot at me. Surprise? Director Cosmos, why were you so surprised when Detective Arm found you and again when she fired? Isn't that a bit of unnatural? If you had nothing to hide or if you were beyond reproach. Sadly, even great men such as myself have ordinary human feelings. Our bodies are bound by the forces of gravity and emotions. Even a great man such as myself experiences surprise on occasion. Yes, I'm sure you do. But my real point is not the fact that you were surprised, but rather what you were surprised by. Pardon me? Yeah, first you were surprised when Detective Arm found you in the lounge. And just after that, you were of course again surprised when she shot at you. Yeah. Surprised that she was in the lounge? Well, okay. That doesn't necessarily prove anything by itself, but the fact that she shot at him on sight, yeah, that's pretty surprising indeed. But considering what you were surprised about, a strange phenomenon occurs here. Director Cosmos, what is strange about your surprise reaction is the fact that you were more surprised when Arm came. Sure, you were surprised when Detective Arm shot at you, but the surprise you felt when she found you in the lounge was much greater. You did not expect her to find you here. The fact that you were more surprised by simply being found than being shot at suggests to me that you were conflicted about whatever it was you were doing there. Okay. The enemy has acquired a new weapon. Commence operation hide under your desk. Why does he keep spinning like that? It's so annoying. Please tell me I finally sunk his battleship. Spiz battleship Yamato. Boss, I'm getting less discordant now. That must mean he really is hiding something about that launchpad door, and whatever he's hiding most likely has something to do with the killer's escape. I wonder what it could be. If he was doing something suspicious around that door, maybe we can spot some change between before he came to the room and after. Detective Wright gave us a photo taken after the crime. Let's run a comparison. Let's see. This is footage of the door before Director Cosmos arrived, and this is how the door looked after Director entered the lounge. Hey, look at that. There is a change. Something's definitely different. Show me again. I didn't see it. Director Cosmos. What is it? What have you two been up to over there? Finding the answer to what you were doing when Detective Arm found you, that's what. And that answer lies clearly in this footage. All we have to do is compare it to the photo that was taken during the investigation. Show me again! Don't be ridiculous. If you really do have an answer, you'd have pointed it out already. Ah, I see it. It's the knob, the red knob. It's... the handle of it is horizontal on this one, and it was vertical on the other one, so it moved. It was used, but I don't know what it's used for, though. He's asking for it. This is what changed directly after the incident. Well, it's a good thing I spotted it just now. Because if they don't allow you to check between the two, the answer is this knob. Nah, that's... Your Honor, please take a look at this footage. Let's see. Take a look at the knob next to the launch pad door. As you can see, it's horizontal. Yes, it is, isn't it? However, it's vertical in this one, yeah. When we investigated the scene of the crime yesterday, the knob was vertical. And what does that mean? I wish I knew. It means that sometime between before the director arrived and after, someone turned this knob. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what it does, so... After the scene was discovered, you were only one who could have turned the knob. Come on now, Director Cosmos. Let's hear what you have to say. What were you trying to do by turning that knob by the door? Fine, I admit it. You're right, I did turn that knob. That knob is a safety lock meant to keep the launch pad in place. I was afraid there would be more explosions, so I wanted to move the launch pad away. You wanted to do what? Hey, didn't Ponko tell us something about how to prepare for launch? She said that once the launch pad's fully assembled, it's moved to the launch site. But the safety lock in the boarding lounge has to be disengaged first. I guess that clears up what that knob is for. Oh, so if the killer escaped into the Launchpad 1 corridor, maybe they were transported along with the launch pad to the launch site. I don't think so. The Launchpad 1 corridor was filled with smoke. I don't think they could have escaped through that corridor. Ah, well, you know, so then where did the killer escape to? It's getting more and more mysterious. I guess there are still some things we have to uncover. Director Cosmos, I request that you tell us about moving the launch pad in more detail. Fine, but listen carefully, for I'm about to give it history-making testimony. I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. Why are you happy? Why are you happy here? I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. You make it sound like you were reluctant to do so, and yet when you did it, you felt some joy as if you were very pleased with yourself. You helped him escape, you know who he is. How do you do it? How do you know everything as if you were there? Pretty impressive, isn't it? This is the power of analytical psychology. So care to explain why you felt joy when you disengaged the safety lock? When I think back on the facts we've discovered up to this point, I have to believe that you were trying to fulfill some hidden agenda. How do you know about that too? Because I'm more or less a pro at guessing. I guess. But you have no proof that I had a hidden agenda. And even if I did, I would never ever tell you, so there. I know they say people regress as they grow older, but you, sir, take the cake. And how could you doubt a man with such great intensity, intelligence, and integrity? I don't know about integrity, because you've been lying through your teeth since the beginning of this trial. You, a man of integrity, don't make me laugh. Prosecutor Blackquill, what came over him all of a sudden? You've spouted nothing but falsity since you stepped up to the stand. Thank you for admitting to it. You're not the kind of man that would be glorified in the annals of history. Yeah, in the annals of history. Not for greatness anyway, unless you consider greatest barefaced liar an honor. Liar! Gulp, his words bite harder than his blade. You moved Launchpad 1 after the explosions? My, how naive you are. You fail to realize how even the facts themselves have betrayed you. You know, just a thought, but modern English can be your friend. Okay. And here's a thought for you. Immediately following the bombing, Launchpad 1 was on the boarding lounge one side. The police confirmed this on scene. What? Liar! So that means the director didn't move the launch pad? It only means it was moved twice. No? Curse my judgment for calling history's greatest liar to the witness stand. Let us leave him to indulge in his lies and war games to his heart's content. Liar!
Objection!
But the knob was in the other position. Yeah, you can't deny that someone turned it. And once the safety lock was released, I'm sure the pad must have went somewhere. Yeah. If we chase down the truth of this issue, we just might find where the killer escaped to. Ah! You're sure it must have went somewhere? We just might find out. Your arguments are nothing but conjecture, bluffing, and wishful thinking. Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is. Or are you not man enough to... Or are you not man enough to, boy? Haha, talk about hitting below the belt. Young'uns these days. I don't understand it. I'm sure Director Cosmos must have moved the launch pad. The knob was definitely turned after he came to the lounge. But the launch pad is right where it's supposed to be. Urgh. Wait a minute, maybe I have it all backwards. What if the director turned the knob, not to move the launch pad away, but to bring it back to where it was supposed to be? So that he could escape to it. What are you blathering about? What if the launch pad was at the launch site before the incident? And then after the incident, Director Cosmos moved it back to its usual spot. All he had to do was turn the knob to call the launch pad back. And it would be right where the police found it. Ah. You made him sigh like Mr. Starbuck. Oh, was what I said really that off base? It pains me to have to explain how wrong your own logic is to you, however. How did Starbuck and the other dudes find their way into the lounge if if that thing was moved away? Yeah. I know, right? Our great liar turned the knob only after he discovered the crime scene. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge when our astral wanderers made their escape. A fact that has been recorded for posterity on filmless film. Oh, right. So to reiterate... Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is, boy. Ah! Get a grip, Mr. Wright, and focus. We know the launch pad must have been moved. But our deductions and the actual facts of the case are in direct contradiction with each other. Well, maybe the two astronauts never actually boarded the rocket. This footage could be fake, taken with body doubles after the incident or something. On second thought, that's too far-fetched even for me. Never actually boarded the rocket? Hey, wait a minute. Huh? Ah, Prosecutor Blackquill, what if I told you that the two astronauts never set foot inside the launch pad area, but instead went into another place? The museum can be moved around as well. What if when the director moved launch pad 1 back, it was not from the launch site, but from another place? What would you say then? Cut the existential bull or I'll cut you. Mr. Wright, you would explain yourself at once. I know I'm right. It was all the other way around from the beginning. Very well, Your Honor, let me explain. To switch it to another place. Because he wanted to switch it with some other place. I'm sorry, but did you say switch it? But what could he possibly have switched the launch pad with? Oh, you'd be surprised, Your Honor. All it takes is a little thinking outside the box and the answer becomes clear as day. This is what was switched with Launchpad 1. The Space Museum. Yeah, that's it.
Take that!
But it's the only other thing anyway. Launchpad 1 was switched with the Space Museum. In the past, the Space Museum used to be Launchpad 2. It has all the same features as Launchpad 1 and can even be moved to the launch site. Meaning the Space Museum and Launchpad 1 can also be switched with each other. You can't mean! The rocket the astronauts boarded was not the one in Launchpad 1. It was the one in the Space Museum. Ba, 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 ba. And yet it's the only explanation that accounts for every riddle and inconsistency. This is how the Space Center was just before the incident. I see Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum have already switched places. That's right, and with the two switched like this, the astronauts entered the Space Museum from boarding lounge 1. 2. Sorry, wait, what? Well, I wish I could go back because I might have read that wrong. This allowed the true killer to enter Launchpad 1 from boarding lounge 2 and set the bomb on the rocket. Come to think of it, the door to the Space Museum from boarding lounge 2. Welcome, welcome. The Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 AM to 7 PM. Exactly, anyone could pass through the door to the Space Museum. There is no fingerprint recognition system on that door. In other words, with the two launch pads switched like that, someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb. Garr! After setting the bomb on the rocket, the culprit snuck into boarding lounge 1 and waited there, concealed, in order to kill Mr. Terran when the two astronauts emerged from the Space Museum. Recall that Miss Blackwell, Mr. Starbuck, and the director all saw a suspicious figure. I kinda wish we could have interrogated her, just to see the reaction from his brother. See how they get along. Who we can suppose, after killing Mr. Terran, made their escape into the Space Museum. After that, Director Cosmos switched the two launch pads back, without realizing the killer was inside the Space Museum. The killer then left the Space Museum and made a clean getaway. No! Right, Dono, I see you know how to handle the sword and handle it well. Perhaps I should call you Swordmaster Bluff. I'm a seasoned warrior who has cut down many a prosecutor. Silence. But unless you can prove your theory, it's no better than a rusty sword. That's right, you have no proof I switched the launch pads. Somebody needs a better anger management counselor. If the launch pads really were switched, there might be a record of it somewhere. At this point, Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum were switched with each other. So the corridor beyond the door should be the one that belongs to the Space Museum. Let's see, this is an image of the Launchpad 1 corridor. Do you see anything different when we compare it to the security footage? Huh. That number on the floor. 1? Well, what do you know? It looks like we have proof after all, Prosecutor Blackwell. And if this is just another bluff... Oh, don't worry, it's all right here. Ah, yes, you can see the 2. I didn't notice until now. Proof that beyond this door is the corridor to the Space Museum. Answer this for me, would you, if you would? Ah, it's this one, right here. This. I'm trying to pinpoint it as well as I can. There is a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. But take a look at the floor of the corridor in the security footage. Do you see the number on the floor behind the astronauts? It doesn't look like a 1, does it? That's because what you see is actually part of a 2. What? I don't blame him. I didn't know this until now either. Why is it a 2 and not a 1? Well, because that's the museum at the other end of that corridor. That's because the corridor you see is the one to the Space Museum. So that means the corridor in this footage was not filled with smoke. That's right, because the explosion didn't occur in the Space Museum. The explosion occurred in Launchpad 1 on the side opposite the Space Museum. And now that we know the two astronauts escaped from the Space Museum, the mystery from the previous trial of how they got down the ladder is cleared up. Mr. Terran, carrying Mrs. Starbuck, simply took the elevator from the upper level down to the middle level. Just incredible, the two launch pads were actually switched. But you'd think someone would have noticed an event of this magnitude. Everyone was down in the basement shelter when the launch pads were swapped back. There's no way anyone could have known what was happening on the surface. Ah, no noise level anymore. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Info update. Whoops, sorry. Bye-bye. Okay, I should save now. That's good progress. No more lies, Director Cosmos. It's high time. You told us the truth. Tell the truth. My honor and my glory. Everything is slipping away. Time to deploy my ultimate weapon, Galactic Engine. Ignition. What? It's gone haywire. Ah! It won't stop. My stars, my glory. Yeah, he's losing stars, alright. So, some of them look like a Mario star or something with eyes in the mouth. No, not that way! Is he gonna testify or not? You let him go. Bailiff! On your steed, and after that witness, on your steed. Okay. That would actually be pretty funny to see. Alright. I see we managed to retrieve you before you came to any bodily harm. Director Cosmos, do you admit you switched the launch pads? I admit it's true. I switched launch pad 1 for the Space Museum. It is good to hear words I can believe for a change. Before you do, Your Honor, 2 things. First, we don't know if Mr. Tarrant had prior knowledge of the switch. As for Mr. Starbuck, he was unaware of his surroundings thanks to his medication. Either way, Mr. Tarrant would have realized the instant he stepped into the Space Museum. That it had been switched with Launchpad 1. So my first question is, the Space Museum was perfectly fine. Why did Mr. Tarrant feel the need to put on such a dramatic display? As for my second question, I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the 2 launch pads to begin with. Please, I can't. But I will say my hands were tied. Okay, I skipped part of the line. Sorry, my finger hit the button 1 time too many. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught in that blast. The director is terrified. He must have one heck of a reason for not wanting to explain why. Probably not a good time to try to pry it out of him, huh? Excuse me, but would you mind if I picked up my stars? Without my badge or rank, I'm nothing. I don't see why not. Bailiff, help the director retrieve his stars. How did you drop stars to begin with? Those of his costume? I didn't notice if he had them missing before. It appears the possibility of a culprit other than the defendant has presented itself. Mr. Starbuck, is there anything you wish to say? I don't get it. Don't get it. What don't you get? Director, why did you do all that? From the very beginning, you never meant for the launch to go ahead, did you? You tricked us! Mr. Starbuck. Starbuck, my boy, I'm sorry. I can't tell you the reason why, but I had to do it to protect the Space Center. Director! Will I ever get the chance to go into space again? Don't think so. Seems unlikely now. Yes, of course. I won't rest until it happens. If you're going to jail, no, you won't. You won't be able to help. I will get you into space again, my boy. Then the dream is still alive.
Silence.
What's up with him? You're not going into space, Starbuck. But prison, I won't have it any other way. Why are you so hung up on him? Yes, I accept that the launch pads really were switched. And if there were a third person at the scene, I suppose they could have escaped. But I have yet to see proof of this third person's escape via the Space Museum. Oh, that's a good point. He's right. I don't have any proof. Let just the man testify already. He must have seen something. Starbuck, you will spill everything you know. What? Me? Gasp. Where did you get those bombs? Tell me now. If you don't, my blade shall feast on your blood. If I'm going to die, I want to die in space. I have to do something. Someone Starbuck, prepare yourself. Hey! Ah, okay. Ha 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 ha. Now, you know violence isn't the answer, Prosecutor Blackwell. Ah, thank God. That annoyingly cheerful laugh, it can be none other than an... Champion of Righteousness, Bobby Fulbright here. In justice we trust. Detective Fulbright. Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Lawyer. I hope I'm not too late. I don't believe we had an appointment. I tried to hurry, but I ended up helping a little old lady cross the street. And then I had to break up a cat fight. I tell ya, justice sure is a full-time job. Was it a fight between cats, or... Why are you here again? Because the defendant isn't the culprit, and I came to make sure that justice is served. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Fulbright, I always thought you were a bit touched in the head. But have you finally succumbed? Nope, but it looks like you've succumbed to this phantom of yours. Open your eyes and let the evidence of justice uncloud your judgment. What evidence? Come to think of it, he did say something about finding us some evidence. You did not fabricate this evidence, did you, though? Thanks, you two. I feel a lot better now that I've been able to get that off my chest. I'm going to work extra hard to find that perfect piece of evidence for you. You better not have faked it. I didn't think it was serious, though. So, what is it, Detective? Is it something that will prove Mr. Starbuck innocent? It is indeed. Have a look at this. The lighter? What's this, a lighter? That's right, a lighter thought to have been used by the culprit, no less. The Space Museum's cleaning robot picked it up. The sister might have faked it to get back at her brother for something. She said she hates prosecutors. It has the victim Clay Tarrant's blood along with this killer's fingerprints on it. What? Garr! And whose fingerprints are they? Do we know? Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, can I assume that the fingerprints don't belong to the defendant? You bet, Mr. Starbuck is totally innocent. This is it. This is just what I needed. Lighter added to the court record. Okay. But, Your Honor, this is decisive evidence that supports the defense's earlier claim. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. With pleasure, Your Honor. Recall where this lighter was found. Based on that, we can extrapolate that after the killer murdered Mr. Tarrant, they escaped with lighter in hand into the Space Museum, where they dropped it. The switching of the two launch pads occurred. Okay. Then finally, the killer left through boarding lounge 2 and made their escape. Meanwhile, Mr. Starbuck was found in boarding lounge 1 after the murder. A fact that Director Cosmos has testified to. Therefore, Mr. Starbuck couldn't have possibly been one to drop the lighter there. The one? But the defendants had free reign of the area until Director Cosmos appeared. Could he not have dropped the lighter in the Space Museum during that span of time?
Objection!
You'd like that to be true. But Director Cosmos testified that right after he saw the mysterious figure with the lighter, he went into the lounge and found the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. In other words, Mr. Starbuck wouldn't have had the time to double back to the museum. No, Prosecutor Blackwell, the lighter could only have been dropped by the real killer. Most importantly, Mr. Starbuck's fingerprints were nowhere to be found on this lighter. I think you understand what this means, don't you? This piece of evidence unequivocally proves that Mr. Starbuck wasn't the culprit. He doesn't have anything to fight back with, I suppose. This does indeed appear to be decisive evidence that proves the defense's claims. As for the remote switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, we can assume it was planted by the killer on the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. No, there must be some mistake. Thus the remote for prints. The real killer's prints might be on it then. Frankly, Prosecutor Blackwell, I've been worried about you. You've been chasing this phantom for 7 whole years. I understand your urgency because tomorrow...
Silence.
You know something? Tell us. Tell us what? Fulbright, you promised never to speak of that. Tell us! Huh? Tomorrow? What about tomorrow? Given the body of evidence, I think it's safe to say the defendant is innocent. In light of the fact that it was impossible for him to have committed the crime, a few unanswered questions remain, so I look forward to seeing what you two uncover. But for now, this court finds the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. Okay, not guilty already. Okay, that case wasn't very long. But that means we still have more to investigate then. It's not quite over with. Yes, we did it, Mr. Wright. Looks like we pulled it off somehow, huh? With some help from Detective Fulbright. Yeah, we still don't know who the real killer is, though. So that means we have to investigate for that. Mr. Wright, Miss Sykes, thank you, and please thank Apollo for me, too. Well, I guess Apollo is out there investigating who really killed him, then. You all are the best. Oh, I wish we could tell Apollo about Mr. Starbuck's verdict right now. Yeah, me too, but that's going to have to wait. Now that the verdict has been reached, I'd like to bring today's trial to a close. Court is adjourned. Well, at the end of this chapter, that'll be the end of today's stream, I guess. But let's see where this goes then. It's too late to object, isn't it? It simply is impossible. Something's wrong. Prosecutor Blackwell, are you dissatisfied with the verdict? Fulbright, what were the results of the fingerprint analysis for the lighter? Huh? The results? Well, I was in a hurry, you see, and then there was that cat fight, and well, I forgot to bring them. I kinda got carried away when I heard the prints weren't Mr. Starbuck, so you have yet to read it? Prosecutor Blackwell, can you read out who the prints belong to? Upon thorough analysis, they were found to belong to Athena Sykes? So says the report. What? Huh? Me? What? What the hell? Order, I say! Order! Miss Sykes, tell me you have an explanation for this! We just finished proving that this lighter could only belong to the killer. So finding your prints on it can only lead us to one grave conclusion. I don't know how they got on there, but I know I'm not the culprit. It would not have been in our interest to prove the other guy's innocence otherwise. This can't be happening. We built up our argument piece by piece, and I don't think any of our reasoning was faulty. But the sister did say she hated lawyers, so she could have planted it there, I suppose. How could it have led to this? Lighter updated in the court record. So, I guess we'll continue to investigate the same thing, but trying to defend Athena now. What have I done? Please forgive me, I'm sorry. Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, stop your crying! What in the world is happening here? It's like the world's gone mad. Order! Order! I will have order! Confusion spiraled into utter chaos. After all we'd fought for, the truth had turned cruelly on us to accuse Athena of the crimes. Somewhere, somehow, everything had gone terribly wrong. We had stumbled over the edge of reason and into the jaws of a twisted darkness. Saving data. Okay, well, it goes straight into episode 5. Okay, turnabout for tomorrow. No one can escape their past. The sins we've committed and the sadness we've caused. No matter how far we run, our past remains, as ever present as the moon in the sky. It looms in wait for the day when we are forced to face it. But only in doing so can we truly make peace and move on in hope towards tomorrow. Okay. I think it just auto-saved. Okay, I'll stop here then. Let's not go any further. That means there are two episodes of the game 2 cases to go through, because there's the DLC one that is included by default in the Android version. We'll get started on this one tomorrow night. Thank you guys for watching. I shall be back tomorrow night then with more Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies. See you next time. Have a good one. Sleep tight. Don't let the bugs bite, etc., etc., etc. See you next time. Bye-bye.